How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another Game Week preview stream. This week, Game Week 36 plus is right around the corner. The deadline is tomorrow afternoon before Chelsea play Norwich. So yeah, pretty interesting game week. United just finished playing and could have sneaked a win in there, but at the end of the day, had 10 men. Should be going up for the header. They should be getting that ball out of there, but can't win them all, obviously. Still gained points on Chelsea and Leicester. But overall, a pretty solid FPL week, for all things considering. So, let's check out how the team did. I've also changed a few things sound-wise, so let me know, if the music's too loud, if it's too quiet, if it's, if the transition sounds too loud or too quiet. I changed some things up because I did see it was louder than what it should have been, or what I had it set way back when and just didn't notice it. So, but yeah, that's the team on the screen. We got 79 points minus 12. We made 4 transfers, and I think we were in the hole by like 6 points, but overall I think the players are better going forward. And I think we did okay. All things considering, if we would have triple captain Sterling, we would have been in the money. But we triple captain Vardy. He did get 1 bonus point. He did score, so that's better than what we could have. It's better than average, I guess, in most cases. Let's kind of run through the team a little bit here. So we got Wolves double clean sheet. I was very happy about that. Everton was quite bad. Obviously, the only downside to it was that Luca Digne got 0 points because he decided to get a yellow card, and they also conceded 2 goals or more without conceding 4, so he got -2 there as well. So yeah, that's a bit unfortunate, but the other defender on our bench also got 0, so it wouldn't matter too much. And Trent Alexander-Arnold didn't start initially, so he only got 1 point, but the Wolves clean sheet was definitely ideal for us. If there was going to be a team that I wanted to keep a clean sheet out of Wolves and Everton, it would have definitely been Wolves. So that is good for us. Into the midfield, we got a good bit of points from a couple of players here. So Martial obviously getting goal, assist, 3 bonus points tonight. Fantastic. Love to see it. Fernandez still getting an assist in a very quiet night. Some would say. Raheem Sterling, we brought him in. He scored a hat-trick. Fantastic for us. De Bruyne obviously only getting 3 points isn't ideal. And Foden being benched wasn't ideal either. However, I think that both Foden, De Bruyne, and possibly Raheem Sterling will all start. I mean, you can't bench somebody if they got a hat-trick, right? Surely not. And yeah, I think Foden will definitely start in the next game. So that should be something to look forward to, especially considering it's Bournemouth. They may get overconfident and try to play out, and then City's press will just shred them to bits, basically. So yeah, and then on our forward line, Greenwood, he's human actually. After all, he had a quiet night, but he did a lot of hard work defensively. Unfortunately, you don't get points for defense, so that's a bit unfortunate, but he ended up getting us 2 points, same as Calvert-Lewin, so it wouldn't have mattered. And then we had Jamie Vardy, who we triple captained. He got us 7 points times 3, which is 21 for an overall score of 79. And then if we would have taken those points off for the hits, it would have ended up being 67 points overall, which I think was 13 or 14 points higher than the top 10k average, which is definitely a big step in the right direction. If we would have had Sterling triple captained and Vardy not triple captained, it would have been plus 42 minus 14, so that would have been plus 28 from what we had, so we would have been way up there. We would have been in the 100 somewhere minus the 12, so yeah, overall quite good. And then we obviously have our non-playing players, and Ngaki and Martin, and then like I said, Lascelles got 0, because I think they conceded 2, and he got a yellow card as well. Yeah. And like I said, Calvert-Lewin played but didn't come on. So, and he got the same amount of points as Mason Greenwood. So let's check out how we did in our predictions. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Not sure why it did that. We lost everything. There we go. Let me make sure we can see everything. Yes, fantastic. Okay. We lost everything for a second there. We had the desktop up on the screen. So this was our predictions here. Just going to move them right there. All right. So We said that West Ham would win 2-0 over Norwich. They doubled that score, so we get 1 point for that. If you are new to our scoring system, the way it is if you get an exact result, you get 3 points. If you get the correct result, as in the, West Ham won 2-0, so they still got a win, I get 1 point. And if I don't get it right, then I get 0. So in the Watford Newcastle case, I said it would be a draw. It was not a draw. It was a win for Watford, so I get zilch. Same for the Liverpool Burnley. I said 2-1 Liverpool. They ended up drawing 1-1 with Burnley due to a masterclass by Nick Pope. Then I said Chelsea would draw with Sheffield United. Sheffield United took it one step further, which I'm perfectly okay with, and Sheffield United won 3-0. We said Man City wins 3-1 over Brighton. They won 5-0, and so we get a point for that. Wolves and Everton was not a draw. It was a 3-0 win for Wolves, so we don't get anything for that. Aston Villa got the win over Crystal Palace, although we did not say 2-0. We said 2-1, so we still get 1 point for that. Spurs, we got the win correct, but not the correct scoreline. We said 1-0. It was 2-1. Leicester definitely didn't get that one right, so that's nothing there. And then Man United and Southampton, drew 2-2, and we said United would win 3-1. So overall, not great. We only got 4 correct results, but not an exact result. Typically, I like to get at least half right. Wasn't meant to be. West Ham got a clean sheet. Fabianski, clean sheet. Justin, he did okay, but I don't think he got any returns, so nothing doing there. Mane, nothing doing there, and neither with Giroud. Giroud is kind of unfortunate. I think he's definitely a good pick to watch out for this game week, mainly because he's going to start. Giroud, if you haven't watched my buy, hold, sell video, is on the buy list, and the main reason being is because when Chelsea start with Olivier Giroud since the restart, they've won every game, and when they don't have Giroud starting in the team, they lose every game. So I think Olivier Giroud is probably better if he did start. Next, we have our game week 36 games to check out. So these are just the same fixtures up on the screen here. So Chelsea versus Norwich, I think Chelsea will bounce back. I think they should get a 3-0 win, although I hope they drop points because that would be fantastic. But I'm considering assets in that game. It is the first game out of the week, and people are probably looking for early team news on that one. Burnley versus Wolves. This could easily be a 0-0 game. Burnley's defense is quite formidable. Got an itch on the nose tonight. Don't know why. But yeah, I think Wolves obviously showed a good display, but Everton defensively aren't nearly as good as the likes of Burnley are. It could also probably be a 1-1 game. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm just going to say this is a nice, boring 0-0. And yeah, I think this is how it's going to play out. Man City versus Bournemouth. This could be a cricket score, personally, because Bournemouth can't really defend. They showed that and they lost Nathan Ake through injury. I don't know how serious the injury is. I haven't looked into that, but it could be, very devastating for them. I'm going to say City win this game 4-0, just to be frank. They may concede 1, but I'm going to go 4-0 just because it sounds like a nice score for our City assets. Newcastle versus Spurs. Now, Spurs have gone and won against Arsenal, but it would be just like them to go and get a poor result. I think Newcastle pulls something out of this. I think it is a 1-1 draw. Arsenal versus Liverpool. I think Liverpool should be able to win this game quite comfortably. Arsenal's, their recent games, they've looked okay defensively in some shades of the game. The problem is that they have David Luiz and Skodra Mustafi, who are terrible. So I think that the likes of Liverpool will exploit that. I think stylistically Liverpool have been way better versus teams like Arsenal, and the results have obviously shown that. So I think that Liverpool win this game comfortably. Do I think Liverpool will concede? No, because Robertson looked excellent in their previous game, and I think that with the likes of Trent being rested and coming back in, I can see a full-strength Liverpool team going into this game, and I think Liverpool will win this game 3-0. Everton versus Aston Villa, I think a 2-0 win is, quite standard for Everton. It should be something that they should be looking at, definitely. And I think that Aston Villa are destined for relegation, unfortunately, even though they got that win over Crystal Palace. I think Everton need to bounce back if they want to have aspirations of European football for the Europa League. And I think a 2-0 win seems like a likely scoreline. Now, Leicester versus Sheffield United. This one is a tough one to call. And my reasoning for this is that Sheffield United look great. Leicester, like we mentioned in our buy, hold, sell video, they're losing players through injury, losing players like Soyuncu through suspension who won't play for the rest of the season. And Vardy didn't get any touches on the ball in the second half, pretty much, and he didn't get any shots in the second half. So that's kind of worrying. Brendan Rodgers took off Iheanacho at halftime. It was a bit all weird there. It just didn't make much sense to me. I think this could be a draw. I think Leicester may come out early and get a goal, and then Sheffield United may kind of, fight back. If Sheffield United manage to withstand the likes of Leicester's early press and early pressure, I think Sheffield United can impose themselves on the game. And I can see them easily doing that. But I think I'm going to go defensive on this one, on the fence, as it were. And I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Crystal Palace versus Manchester United. United need to win this game. Palace haven't looked great. I think United will be back to winning ways. I don't see Palace finding a way to score versus us, assuming we have a full strength team. And I think that we had chances to put the game away against Southampton, but Southampton obviously were very gritty. Their press worked effectively. They created a mistake, which led to the first goal. And I think that United will win this game 3-0. Southampton versus Brighton. I think Southampton are quite a good team, as we saw in the United game, and I think they'll prove themselves in that. I think they still will concede to Brighton because when they do press, they do get caught out. They're not as good defensively, but they are very good at pressing. I think Brighton might find a way through and nick one, but I think Southampton should win this game quite comfortably, 3-1. And then we have Watford and West Ham. I think West Ham are on form. I think whichever team obviously wins this gets to stay up, guaranteed, no matter what the rest of the results are. I think that's mathematically how it works out. But I think West Ham have been in better form, and I think they grind out the win and get a 2-1 victory. And then you saw our differentials and clean sheet picks for this week. We've gone with Everton for a clean sheet, mainly because I just think Aston Villa may think that they're kind of down. Even their win versus Crystal Palace, they got somewhat fortunate with that because obviously the goal was disallowed by Palace in the first place. And I think that Everton are probably going to bounce back, and they have better quality players to do so. So I think that's going to be my clean sheet for the week. In goal, I think McCarthy could potentially, like I said, Brighton might not score in this game. It could easily be a 3-0, but I think McCarthy has a great fixture in this week and could be very good. And if you're one of those people who have McCarthy from way back, when he was being rotated with the likes of other goalkeepers before the restart, I think he is a great asset for this game week and could still pick up some save points even if he does concede. And in defense, I'm going to go with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, he is a very highly owned player. A lot of people potentially are getting rid of him just because he's very expensive, and people are looking to basically bolster their midfield and their forwards. But I think he could be quite crucial. Now, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Newcastle all look like, on paper, things that they, where they would concede. However, you have to remember Liverpool have 14 clean sheets this season, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, if he comes looking like how Robertson did after his rest, we could see Trent get a brace assist clean sheet or something crazy. So I think he could be one to watch out for this game week. Into the midfield, we have Christian Pulisic. I would have put Giroud as a forward, but I don't like typically doing the same player back to back. The reason we've gone with Pulisic here is because I think it's the last time that he's going to be worthy of basically having in your team, because they then play Liverpool and Wolves in the final two games, and I think Pulisic could have a very good game this game week, especially if he starts, which he should be starting. I expect the team with a front line of Giroud, Willian, and Pulisic in the Norwich game. I think Lampard knows that this is the only game that they're going to basically have as a gimme. They have to take it seriously still, though, and I think Pulisic is definitely a good asset for that. And then for the forward line, I've gone with the struggling Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think if there's any time to kind of judge him on whether he's going to be able to score in the remainder of the season, this Aston Villa game is definitely going to be it. And I think that, if he doesn't score in this game, then you have all reason to definitely get rid of him. Unfortunately for me, I have to get rid of the likes of Vardy if I want to make a transfer, potentially, unless I get in the likes of Giroud for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but then I have Vardy sitting on my bench because I kind of want to play Mason Greenwood and all these sorts of things. But yeah, that's going to be my differential picks and predictions for this game week. Let's move those over there. So this is how the team lines up at the moment. We currently have the captaincy sitting on Sterling with the vice captaincy on De Bruyne. I think that just in my head, I just can't see, benching Martial, Greenwood or Martial. They're in there. They're in the team. They're definitely in the team. They are definitely in the team. But I think that I could captain Martial. It's definitely possible. He seems to be on a good vein of form. Fernandes just kind of looked tired tonight. Just all things considered, he misplaced a lot of passes. Martial was definitely our best player on the pitch, by far. Just super clinical. He could have scored one or two more potentially. Same with Rashford as well. But I think the Bournemouth fixture is just not something I can't overlook. I am worried about Pulisic this week. The only problem is that if I were to bring in Pulisic this week, I can't get rid of Foden directly to get him. I have to get rid of Sterling or De Bruyne or Fernandes or Martial to bring him in, and I would want those other players back in the following game week because they have so United has West Ham at home as an example. Man City has I think it's Watford away. So Man City literally has 3 games in a row for teams that are in the bottom 5. The transfer that I am considering, we'll talk about in a bit, is Giroud, because I think he's definitely going to start. I brought up a stat earlier where basically in the 4 games that Giroud has started since restart, Chelsea have not lost, and he scored in all of those games except for one, and that one game was versus Manchester City. So pretty good stat there. And the other 2 games he didn't start, they lost. So I think that Giroud is definitely going to be someone that they kind of need in there in order to kind of perform. And I can see why Lampard was starting him initially. But yeah, I think that the Wolves game could be crucial to this game week. If they pick up another clean sheet, that'd be crazy. Let's see, how many clean sheets does Patricio have right now? Just in general, he's got 12 clean sheets in total, but from game week 29 onwards, he's gotten, 5 out of 7 clean sheets Wolves have? That's nuts. Absolutely insane. The one thing I want to see is Doherty probably potentially pick up some returns this week. Just not to Raul Jimenez, honestly. And I think Digne is a good asset going forward now because he's got Aston Villa, Sheffield United away, which could be a bit tricky, but then Bournemouth at home. Those could all be potentially good returns. I don't think anyone's going to get rested in this team. I think Foden's definitely going to start. I think De Bruyne is definitely going to start. I think Sterling has to start. I mean, the dude just scored a hat trick. How can he not? Right? He has to start, surely. But yeah, I think the captaincy is definitely going to be on Sterling. If I were to bring in the likes of Danny Ings as an example, he does play Brighton at home and he could be a consideration for the captaincy option. Same with Olivier Giroud. If I had Pulisic in this game or had a way, an easy way to get him in, I would definitely be looking at captaining him. The only problem is that, the likes of Pulisic is I can't get him in one, and I only want to use one free transfer, so I guess I'm going to go with the next best option in Giroud if I have to. But I think that it could be quite good overall. I'm tempted to kind of just keep Vardy. I mean, the last time he played Sheffield United, he did score, so not the end of the world there. But the only problem is that after that, it's Spurs are going to put 20 men behind the ball and their team bus, and then they play United. So I mean, he could be good versus United, who knows? But at that point, United may have already have top 4, and then who knows? He might actually be good there. But if I'm looking for the likes of Danny Ings, who's got Brighton, then Bournemouth, then Sheffield United, all of which he can score in technically, the Sheffield United game being a bit trickier, it could be quite good. Or I can go for the likes of Giroud, who has an easier fixture in Norwich at home instead of Brighton like Danny Ings has. And then I bring in Danny Ings, and then I go into the last week with 1 transfer. But if I do go with Danny Ings this week, I can, not do anything next week. And then I can go into the last game week with 2 free transfers and potentially swap my Man City assets around in kind of guessing which ones will start and which ones won't. So as an example, we see, so it's going to be game week 36, game week 37, FA Cup, semifinals, game week 38. If I see De Bruyne play in all 3 of those, I'm almost certain that he's not going to play in game week 38 because they want to save him for the Champions League. They will save him for the Champions League, but they'll also save him for the FA Cup final because they're probably going to make it. They're probably going to beat Arsenal anyway. So I think that's kind of where you kind of have to look at things in terms of City as an example. But yeah, that's kind of how the team's looking. I think obviously Calvert-Lewin's definitely going to be first sub. There's no real changes there. Is there a viability, like I said, for captaincy on Fernandes or Martial? Maybe. Fernandes only got an assist tonight, which is, so he is human. But like, look at some of these scores. Like, since he's come into the league, okay, Wolves at home, didn't get anything. Return. United won 3-0 and he didn't get a return. Double digit return. Like, it's just absolutely nuts what this guy is doing. 7 goals, 7 assists, and he's played in, what, 11 games? So he's got 14 goal participations in 11 games, something like that. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Obviously, Greenwood could potentially be benched for the Crystal Palace fixture. It's possible. If I found out, like, some news by like tomorrow afternoon that maybe Greenwood is going to be benched for that game, maybe I play Calvert-Lewin, get rid of Vardy, bring in Ings, and play them both. But I think Greenwood, even off the bench, is still quite lethal. And I think Dan James is he just hasn't learned his trade yet, really. I mean, he came on, he didn't win the ball back, and he fouled somebody. That's pretty much what he did. Like when he came on for the remainder of the game today, and it's just not what you're looking for. Whereas Greenwood, you can see he has that directness, he has that intelligence. Greenwood did a lot of good defensive work today as well, which obviously goes unsung. But yeah, I think that's kind of how the team is going to line up for the time being. For transfers, like I said, we have we don't have enough in the bank to go from Foden to the likes of Pulisic, although I wish I could, but unfortunately I can't. I would have to do it in 2 moves. And obviously next week's not good because they play Liverpool, which isn't great. Speaking of which, who do Newcastle play in 37? Newcastle at Brighton away. I may be tempted. Do I really play Lascelles against Brighton over Trent versus? Nah, I gotta play Trent, surely. Definitely gotta play Trent versus Chelsea. Chelsea's backline's too bad. But basically the kind of transfers that I'm looking at is I would bring in Ings in for potentially this week, bank a transfer next week, and then go into it looking at maybe getting rid of Foden, getting rid of like one of my Wolves players, maybe like a Doherty or the likes of Patricio for like Pope or somebody like that in the final game week, because Pope has Brighton at home and Doherty has Chelsea, so they could concede there. I still think Wolves are going to potentially get something out of that game, but I think that they'll definitely concede. And I definitely want to see if I can nail the 3 Manchester City players in that game. There's also a chance like David Silva could be playing. Like David Silva could play in the Bournemouth game and the Norwich game. I could easily see that happening. I can see him playing in the Bournemouth game, rested but get minutes in the Watford game, rested but get minutes in the FA Cup semi-final, and then start in the Norwich game easily. And he's only 7 point something, so I could potentially, like on the last day, I can get rid of Foden, bring in David Silva into the team like so, and then I could change out Doherty for maybe a Bournemouth defender, or maybe Patricio out for Pope, or maybe I change somebody else. Like it all depends. It really all depends. Like I might even be inclined to get rid of De Bruyne and change him to Mahrez if I think Mahrez is going to start. It's just a bit weird. Just a bit weird that I think that the City rotation, if you try to play it and it beats you, then you could be in a bit of trouble, Could be in a bit of trouble. But nonetheless, we'll try to see if we can make the transfers definitely work. We'll definitely try to see if we can make them work. But yeah, I think that it's potentially looking like the team that we had up initially was the one that we were going to go for this game week. I'll definitely post my lineup out in a video, probably sometime either late this evening or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. Yeah, I think this is the team we're definitely going to go for. Whether I keep the armband on the likes of Raheem Sterling, who knows? It's probably going to be on a Man City asset if we, kind of have an inclination of who's going to play. I'm tempted to kind of put it on Foden because I think he will start, but that's still a bit risky. I think it's just safer to go on Sterling, but even then he's still a risk as well. And then putting it on a Man United asset could also be good as well. But yeah, I think that's we're gonna leave it just there. So that's gonna do it for this game week. Make sure to follow us here on Twitch if you haven't done so already for our game week previews. Make sure to give us a follow over on Twitter as well. It's PilotFlame226 on those platforms. Also, make sure to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. All the links are down in the info and about below, as well as you can see it just below me here. And yeah, make sure to check out the videos, the content we're doing over there. We're doing a whole bunch of different videos week to week. And yeah, thanks for watching, and until the next one,